The juvenile predator's intimidation display just triggered 3 emergency protocols. But the human was laughing and asking if they wanted snacks. Station Commander Zilax's secondary heart seized as he watched the security feed. 3 Carvian cubs by the ancients, had cornered the human cafeteria worker in Section 7. Their threat displays were textbook perfect. Spinal ridges fully extended, bioluminescent throat sacs pulsing crimson, razor-sharp talons scoring deep grooves into the reinforced deck plating. The subsonic rumble from their developing vocal chambers was registering on seismic sensors 3 levels away. "Evacuate Section 7 immediately," Zilax barked into the comm. "Deploy Containment Team Alpha and—" "Sir." His security chief's voice cracked with disbelief. "The human isn't running." Zilax's eyes locked onto the monitor. Emma Johnson, the human who transferred to their station 6 rotations ago to work in the cafeteria, was crouching down, putting herself at eye level with 3 juveniles who could, and had, torn through combat armor when properly motivated. "Emergency override." Zilax slammed the priority channel. "Get tranquilizer teams. Commander, you need to see this." On screen, Emma was smiling. Not the fear-grimace species made when confronting inevitable death. An actual smile, the kind humans made when genuinely pleased. "Oh my gosh." Her voice came through the audio feed, bright with delight. "Look at you guys. Who taught you to be so fierce?" The lead cub, offspring of Ambassador Korvax himself, intensified his display. His throat sac flared to its maximum diameter, easily twice the size of the human's head. The sound he produced had made a Vrexian shock trooper soil himself last cycle. Emma clapped her hands together. "Wow, that's so impressive. You're really good at that." Zilax felt his lunch threatening rebellion. "She thinks they're performing for her. She doesn't understand." "The cubs are confused, sir." His tactical officer pulled up biometric readings. "Their intimidation sequence isn't producing the expected fear response. They're escalating." The second cub lunged forward, snapping jaws designed to crack bone carapaces. The movement was fast enough to blur on standard video. Emma didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her uniform pocket. "Are you hungry? Is that what this is about? I have cookies." "Cookies!" Zilax roared. "Those are classified apex predators. Their bite force can puncture hull plating. Last month, they put 3 security officers in medical." His security chief finished grimly. Those officers were wearing full combat exoskeletons. On screen, Emma was holding out something small and brown toward the cubs. "These are chocolate chip. Well, synthetic chocolate chip because you guys don't have Earth chocolate yet, but they're still really good. Want one?" The third cub, smaller but reportedly the most aggressive, made a sound that Zilax's translator couldn't process. It was somewhere between a growl and a confused whine. "Oh, you poor babies. Nobody's feeding you properly, are they?" Emma tisked sympathetically. She broke the cookie into pieces. "Here, there's enough for everyone." The containment team burst through the corridor access door, weapons drawn. Their team leader took one look at the scene and froze, his targeting laser painting confused circles across the deck. The lead cub's threat display was weakening. His throat sac flickered, alternating between threatening red and the confused purple-blue that Carvians displayed when encountering novel situations. He took a tentative step toward the human's outstretched hand. "No sudden movements," Emma said softly. But she wasn't talking to the cubs. She was looking directly at the containment team. You'll scare them. Zilax's translator decided that moment to helpfully inform him that it had classified Emma's tone as maternal reassurance. She thinks we're the threat, he whispered, horror and fascination warring in his voice. She's protecting them from us. The lead cub's claws retracted. Millimeter by millimeter, evolutionary weapons that had kept Carvians at the apex of their food chain for 60 million years folded away. He stretched his neck forward, nostrils flaring as he investigated the cookie. Emma held perfectly still, smile unwavering. That's it. See? Not scary at all. The cub's tongue, serrated, designed to strip flesh from bone, delicately took the cookie piece from her palm. The cafeteria's emergency klaxons were still wailing. The containment team stood frozen in tactical positions they'd trained for years to perfect. Ambassador Korvax was undoubtedly being pulled from crucial diplomatic negotiations to handle this crisis. And Emma Johnson, human cafeteria worker, was hand-feeding cookies to the galaxy's most dangerous juveniles while humming something her translator tagged as nursery melody. Commander? His security chief's voice had gone very small. What are our orders? Zilax watched the second cub cautiously approach Emma's other hand, threat display completely abandoned in favor of begging posture, the behavior pattern young Carvians used with their parents when requesting food. I, Zilax said slowly, have absolutely no idea. The smallest cub clearly decided that cookies alone weren't sufficient to establish proper pack hierarchy. He reared back on his hind legs, a posture that added another meter to his already impressive height, and released a roar that sent visible vibration waves through the air. Oh, who's a fierce little hunter? Emma cooed, completely undermining the display's intended effect. Yes, you are. You're so scary. Commander, we need to extract her now. His security chief was already signaling the containment team. Those cubs put Lieutenant Vexthul in medical for 3 weeks. He had full tactical armor and a neural disruptor. Stand down, Zilax ordered, though his claws were digging trenches in his command chair's armrests. If we spook them now, they'll attack reflexively. The human is somehow maintaining a non-threatening equilibrium. On screen, the smallest cub's roar deteriorated into something closer to a frustrated huff. Emma reached up toward an apex predator mid-threat display and gently scratched behind his auditory ridge. There we go. You're just full of energy, aren't you? When's the last time someone took you to a proper play area? The cub's eyes, which had been narrowed to aggressive slits, widened in confusion. His head tilted, pressing unconsciously into her touch. This is impossible. Zilax breathed. Get me Kaeldra, now. The lead cub, apparently feeling upstaged, shouldered his smaller sibling aside and attempted his own intimidation display. He lowered his head, presenting the crown of bone ridges that could shatter security barriers, and charged forward in the mock attack pattern that had sent the Vrexian trooper into therapy. Emma's hand shot out and bopped him gently on the snout. No charging. Nice manners get treats. The cub sat down. Actually sat. Like he'd been doing it his whole life on command. The containment team leader's weapon clattered to the deck. I have behavioral specialist Kaeldra, the communications officer announced, voice shaking. A new window opened on Zilax's display. Kaeldra, the Carvian Confederation's leading expert on juvenile predator psychology, took one look at the security feed, and her throat sac flashed through 6 colors in rapid succession, the Carvian equivalent of choking. What? How? That's Ambassador Korvax's bloodline. Those cubs are from the prime hunting ground's genetic line. They're... She stopped, watching as Emma produced another cookie and broke it into 3 precisely equal pieces. She's treating apex predators like domestic pets. Can you explain what we're seeing? Zelax demanded. No, that's my point exactly. I can't explain it. Kaeldra's display flashed frustrated orange. Juvenile Carvians establish dominance through intimidation. It's instinctive, hardwired. When their displays succeed, they learn pack hierarchy. When displays fail, which they never do with non-Carvians, they escalate until they achieve submission response. They're not escalating anymore, Zelax observed. All 3 cubs were now sitting in a semicircle around Emma, watching her hands with laser focus. Exactly. That should be impossible. Their neurology doesn't allow for abandoning successful behavioral patterns. Kaeldra leaned closer to her screen. What is she doing? Emma was speaking softly to the cubs. Words meant only for them. But the cafeteria's audio pickups caught fragments. Probably just bored, right? Growing fast, need lots of food and attention. Nobody explained about proper enrichment activities. The 3rd cub, the one who'd successfully drawn blood from 3 securities officers, rolled onto his back, exposing his vulnerable underbelly to a potential threat. By the ancients, Kaeldra whispered. That's ultimate submission. Juveniles only do that with their birth parents. She's had no specialized training, Zelax said, pulling up Emma's personnel file with trembling claws. Education, Earth Public Schools. Previous employment, coffee shop, bookstore, restaurant server. Current position, station cafeteria worker, grade 3. No xenobiology credentials. No animal handling certifications. No, Commander. His tactical officer interrupted. We're getting proximity alerts. Station personnel are converging on Section 7. The security feeds showed what he meant. Word had spread. Dozens of crew members from multiple species were gathering at safe observation distances, pressing against transparent aluminum barriers to witness the impossible scene. A human, an unarmed human with no combat training, was now rubbing the belly of a juvenile apex predator while the other 2 cubs competed for her attention by bringing her pieces of decorative station flora they'd torn from nearby planters. She's got them fetching, someone in Zilhax's command center said in an awed whisper. Emma laughed, the sound somehow cutting through the ambient tension like a blade. Oh, you brought me presents. These are beautiful. You're such good boys. The smallest cub's tail wagged. Zelax pulled up the xenobiology database entry for Carvian juveniles, scanning for any mention of tail-wagging behavior. Search returned 0 results. Kaeldra, he said carefully, is tail-wagging documented in Carvian developmental patterns. The behavioral specialist's throat sac had gone completely white, the color of absolute shock. No, Commander, that behavior doesn't exist in our species. On screen, all 3 cubs were now wagging their tails. Until now, Kaeldra added faintly. She's moving, the tactical officer announced, as if narrating a nature documentary about something extremely dangerous. Emma stood, brushing cookie crumbs from her uniform. All 3 cubs immediately scrambled to their feet and fell into step behind her, forming a perfect single-file line. I need to get back to work, Emma said conversationally to the cubs. You guys want to help me prep vegetables? The cubs chirped. Actually chirped, a sound Zelax's database insisted was physically impossible for Carvian vocal anatomy to produce. They're following her like imprinted hatchlings, Kaeldra said, her voice distant with shock. This is... Commander, I need to recalibrate everything we understand about behavioral psychology. Get in line. Zillax muttered, watching Emma lead 3 apex predators toward the cafeteria prep area like she was taking younglings on a field trip. The universe stopped making sense approximately 15 minutes ago. The containment team parted like water, pressing themselves against corridor walls as the procession passed. Emma waved cheerfully at them. Thanks for coming so fast. False alarm, though. These sweethearts were just hangry. Sweethearts, the team leader mouthed silently. Commander. The communications officer's voice cracked with panic. Ambassador Korvax is en route to Section 7. ETA 2 minutes. He's bringing his mate. Every being in the command center went very still. The parents, Zillax said slowly. The adult Carvians are coming. Sir, we need to evacuate the human immediately. His security chief was already reaching for the emergency protocols. Adult Carvians defending offspring. That's a level 9 threat scenario. The last time an adult Carvian perceived a threat to their cubs, they tore through a reinforced bulkhead and 3 security checkpoints. Zillax finished grimly. I remember. I signed the repair requisitions. On screen, Emma was now in the cafeteria kitchen, showing the cubs how to wash vegetables. They were attempting to mimic her hand movements with their talons, creating more mess than progress, but appearing deeply focused on the task. Ambassador Korvax has entered Section 7, Tactical reported. The security feed switched to the corridor view. 2 adult Carvians, each standing nearly 3 meters tall, moved with a fluid grace that only apex predators possessed. Their threat displays weren't active. They didn't need them. Their mere presence triggered every prey species instinct within visual range. Station personnel were fleeing. Emergency bulkheads were slamming shut. Someone activated the hull breach sirens by mistake, adding to the chaos. Ambassador Korvax and his mate entered the cafeteria. Emma looked up from the sink, water dripping from her hands. Oh, hi there. You must be their parents. Your kids are adorable troublemakers. Kyldra made a sound like a dying engine. She called them troublemakers. To their faces, to adult Carvians. That translates to, she just insulted their genetic legacy. The ambassador froze mid-step. His mate's throat sac flickered through colors too rapidly to track. The cubs, oblivious to the mounting tension, bounded toward their parents with excited chirps, vegetables clutched in their talons like trophies. We're washing food, the smallest one announced in broken standard, a language Zillax's file said he shouldn't be able to speak yet. The humans showed us. Ambassador Korvax's head swiveled slowly toward Emma. His eyes, which had ended diplomatic careers through sheer intimidation factor, fixed on the small human still standing calmly by the sink. Emma smiled and wiped her hands on a towel. Sorry about the mess. They were doing that whole scary display thing in the corridor, really impressive, by the way. But I figured they were just testing boundaries. Growing kids, you know. They need structure and regular meals. When's the last time they ate? The ambassador's mate sat down, not in a threatening crouch, just sat, like her leg servos had failed. Testing? Boundaries? Ambassador Korvax repeated slowly. Sure, it's totally normal behavior. Emma gestured at the cubs, who were now showing their parents the vegetables with obvious pride. They're at that age where they're figuring out their place in the social hierarchy. The intimidation displays are just them asking, what are the rules and who's in charge? Classic adolescent stuff. Adolescent stuff, the ambassador echoed, his translator struggling with Emma's casual phrasing. My understanding of apex predator development has just collapsed, Kyldra announced to no one in particular. I need to sit down. Is anyone else sitting down? Most of the station is evacuating, someone replied. Emma was still talking, completely unaware that she was lecturing the Carvian Confederation's most decorated warrior about parenting. They probably need more enrichment activities. Hunting simulations, puzzle feeders, that kind of thing. And regular meal schedules help with the aggressive behavior. Low blood sugar makes anyone cranky. The ambassador's mate leaned toward her husband. Her whispered words carried over the audio feed. The human is giving us child-rearing advice. I know. The cubs are listening to her. I know. Should we be offended? There was a long pause. Ambassador Kovacs watched his offspring carefully arrange vegetables in neat piles, following Emma's organizational pattern with intense concentration. I don't think so, he said finally. Emma produced a thermal container from somewhere. Coffee? I just made a fresh pot. Fair warning, though. Humans make it pretty strong. She was offering coffee to apex predators. Apex predators who were supposed to be in threat response mode. Apex predators who were instead settling into comfortable positions around the prep counter like this was a perfectly normal social gathering. Section 7 evacuation is nearly complete, Tactical reported. Should we evacuate the human now? Zilax watched Ambassador Kovacs accept a cup of coffee from Emma with the careful precision of someone defusing an explosive. I think, Zilax said slowly, that ship has sailed. So, what kind of predators does Earth have? Ambassador Kovacs asked, his tone suggesting he was humoring what he assumed was a prey species' limited understanding of danger. Emma laughed, nearly spilling her coffee. Oh man, where do I even start? We've got bears. Some of them stand 3 meters tall and can flip over cars. Tigers that hunt solo and take down prey twice their size. Crocodiles that haven't needed to evolve for millions of years because their design is that efficient at killing. She paused, sipping her drink. Your cubs are like puppies compared to a grizzly bear. The cafeteria went very quiet. Puppies, Ambassador Kovacs repeated flatly. Well, yeah. Emma gestured at the cubs, who were now attempting to dry dishes with their tails. They're sweet. They're testing boundaries. They respond to positive reinforcement. Honestly, they're way easier than Earth predators because they're social. Try reasoning with a saltwater croc sometime. Those guys have literally no interest in negotiation. Kyeldra's voice came through the comm, shaking. Commander, pull up Earth's evolutionary history, immediately. The data cascaded across Zilax's screens. Megafauna, saber-toothed cats, cave bears, dire wolves, and humans. Soft, clawless, relatively slow humans had not only survived alongside them, but thrived. They evolved in an environment surrounded by apex predators, Kyldra whispered. They didn't develop natural weapons or armor because they didn't need them. They developed something else entirely. They learned to understand predator behavior because their survival required it. On screen, the smallest cub was presenting Emma with a shiny piece of discarded equipment he'd found somewhere, his posture eager for approval. Oh, thank you. This is perfect. Emma accepted it like it was treasure. You're such a good helper. The cub's entire body vibrated with pleasure. She's not treating them like predators, Ambassador Kovacs said slowly, watching his offspring with new understanding. She's treating them like young beings who need guidance. Because on her world, even apex predators are just animals. Things to understand and work with, not fear. His mate nodded thoughtfully. Our traditional training methods emphasize dominance through strength. We've been approaching them as future warriors, not as developing minds. And they've been acting out because of it. Emma added gently. They don't need more discipline. They need engagement and boundaries that make sense. Give them problems to solve, not just orders to follow. Zilax was already updating the galactic database, his claws flying across the interface. Classification, human. Threat level, recalculating. Evolutionary environment, death world, class 12. Predator management capabilities, exceeds all known species. Commander, his security chief said quietly, we might want to add a note about humans and juvenile behavioral management. Already on it, Zilax muttered, creating a new advisory protocol. For problematic juvenile apex predators, consider human consultation. Ambassador Korvac stood, his movement drawing everyone's attention. He placed one massive claw hand over his chest in the Carvian gesture of profound respect. Emma Johnson, my mate and I are in your debt. In 3 solar hours, you've taught our cubs better behavior than 6 months of traditional training. Would you consider consulting on our child-rearing approaches? Emma blinked. You want parenting advice? From your cafeteria worker? From a member of a species that learned to coexist with predators that make us look domesticated? The ambassador's mate corrected. Yes. Very much yes. 1 week later, Section 7 had been unofficially redesignated as Emma's Corner. Zilax watched the security feed with something approaching acceptance as Emma supervised what could only be described as the galaxy's most terrifying playgroup. 3 Carvian cubs, 2 juvenile Vrexian shock raptors, and a young Zentari hunter, species that would normally trigger mutual extinction protocols if placed in proximity, were working together to build some kind of structure out of kitchen equipment. Is that cooperative play? Kaeldra asked, her voice filled with academic wonder. Apparently. Zilax scrolled through his message queue. 16 new requests from parents across 8 species, all asking for consultations with the human behavioral specialist. He'd stopped correcting them that Emma was technically still just cafeteria staff. His report to Galactic Command was already 3 drafts deep. Human experience with Earth predators vastly exceeds galactic norms. Recommend reclassification of species capabilities regarding juvenile apex predator management. Request formal xenopsychology evaluation. On screen, Emma glanced at the chronometer. All right, friends, my shift's ending. Time to head back to your parents. The collective whine of disappointment from 6 different species somehow harmonized into a single, mournful sound. Oh, don't give me those faces. Emma laughed, distributing goodbye treats. Same time tomorrow, you little monsters. The Carvian cubs perked up immediately. The Vrexian shock raptors chirped. The Zentari hunter performed what his species probably thought was a happy dance. Emma waved to the security camera. She'd figured out weeks ago they were always watching, and headed toward the exit. As she passed Zilax's office, he heard her talking to herself. Honestly, way easier than babysitting human kids. At least these guys have natural weapons and don't try to eat random stuff off the floor. Well, not as much anyway. Kaeldra materialized beside his command chair. Commander, I've been thinking about human classification. And we got it wrong. Humans aren't prey species who got lucky. They're not predators who evolved dominance. She gestured at the screen, where 6 of the galaxy's most dangerous juveniles were already positioning themselves by the door, clearly planning to wait there until Emma's next shift. They're the species that made friends with wolves. Zilax finished quietly, while everything else was still trying to survive them. Exactly. Kaeldra pulled up Earth's historical database. 20,000 years ago, they took apex predators into their homes, turned them into companions, called them good boys, and meant it. On the security feed, Ambassador Korvax arrived to collect his cubs. They went willingly, but kept looking back at Emma's corner. Tomorrow, they'd be back. They always were. And Emma Johnson, former coffee shop employee, current cafeteria worker, and inadvertent galactic treasure, would be waiting with snacks, that inexplicable human gift for making the universe's most dangerous younglings sit, stay, and behave. Zilak saved his report and queued it for transmission. Subject: Humans and Predator Species. Updated Assessment Summary. We've been asking the wrong question. It's not whether humans are predators or prey. It's whether anything in the galaxy is actually dangerous enough to scare them. Conclusion: further study required, possibly indefinitely. He looked at Kaldra. How long do you think before every station in the sector wants a human on staff? I give it 3 weeks, she said. Maybe 2. Zilak suspected she was being optimistic.